Hello, hello. Can you hear me?
There you are.
Hey, what's up, y'all? Caleb, can you hear me? I don't hear anything. Oh wait, maybe because I told you to mute your mic.
All right, I can hear you.
Okay. All right. I think we're all good now. Okay. All right. I think we're good. What's up, guys? We did it.
What's up? You did it.
We did it.
Yay.
Yes.
Yeah,
All right. Okay. It's only 15 minutes late.
only. That's all things considered. I think that's a success.
Yeah. That's just how streamers work, you know?
Yeah,
Never
yeah,
actually runs on time because they're all like degenerates. You know what I mean?
yeah, exactly. We can now count ourselves amongst that group, the
Huh?
degenerate.
Proud degens. I love it.
Yeah,
Okay. Cool. Well, for anyone who's tuning in or watching this at a later date, this is the Thusly EP album stream. Thanks for watching. What we're gonna do is play some of the songs that the three of us had made and created. We've released 2 so far. I'm gonna release the next 2 very soon. We're going to play the song and then kind of talk about the creative process, some of the inspirations, and actually start to kind of break down how we made the songs and kind of go track by track and take a look at some of the stems and maybe even some of the demos for some of the songs. This is something that I've always really liked and I wish more musicians did, was kind of really break down how they made songs and like what they did and like kind of did like a deep dive into the music. So I would just figure like be the change you want to see in the world, you know?
inspiration.
Exactly. First, I guess we'll just kind of introduce ourselves. My name's James. Played in a couple different bands before this. Prom Date. Shout out to Steven, who I think's in the chat, or as he likes to be known as, Chat. Alabaster Stag. Slow Mile Swift, and got together with these 2 guys. Luke plays with me in Slow Mile Swift, and we've gone back way back in the day. He introduced me to Caleb, and we started playing together and making these songs. And took about a year of on and off playing, but really happy with what we came up with. So and the reason we're doing this stream is Corona, COVID-19 is making things difficult to play live, but also B, we're actually all in different places right now. I'm currently still in Baton Rouge, but the other 2 guys have kind of been in and out of state for a little while. So I guess I'll pass the mic over to, Caleb, if you want to talk a little bit about yourself before we start doing this dang thing.
Hey, can you? First off, can you hear me? Because my screen is free.
Oh, you are frozen. That's weird.
Yeah, but as long as you can hear me, I'll do an introduction real quick, and then I'll deal.
Yeah, I can hear you.
My name is Caleb. I played with Olskis for a few years, and recently did a project with my friend Lyle Tynes called Late Mass, which I produced and did a whole bunch of fun stuff on, and then did this project with these 2 dudes. Yeah, that's really all there is to it. I'm gonna now see if I can fix my problems here.
Look at Caleb over there looking like a thumbnail.
I think Luke is still muted. At least he was one of my screen.
I hear Luke. I hear Luke.
I don't hear Luke.
Oh, I'm talking. I don't know.
Yours just, I don't know what happened with your stuff. Your stuff must have crashed or something, Caleb.
I think it's over. It's over. I'll fix it. If y'all hear my keyboard, I apologize.
Well,
Luke, you want to do a little intro?
yeah, I was gonna take that time, let him sort some things out. Yeah, my name's Luke. I met James a long time ago. I was going to school for music in New Orleans, and he played a show. I believe it was at the High Top.
It was like a circus
Um,
theme place. I don't think it exists anymore. Something like that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it was uh, AF the Naysayer was doing these Dolo jazz suites, and I saw James's set, and I was talking to the Amal, the guy that ran the event, and he was telling me and my homeboy Brandon that plays bass. He was telling us that James did a lot of his own samples and stuff live and played bass over his tracks and stuff. So it wasn't so much just all samples. Like James was actually a musician and playing on his tracks, and we kind of linked up. And from there, over the course of a few years, we started playing the live sets with Slow Mile Swift. Um, you may have caught Brandon on bass every once in a while back in the day, but not so much anymore. And then me and Brandon had a small project that we played. I think we only got around to playing one show, and that was we went under the name 92 Animals. And then, other than that, the only thing that I've ever really been doing is I recently got into a lot of synthesizers and drum machines and stuff. So I recently made a electronic EP under the name Aid, EID. So kind of shifted my interest in music. Started out doing a lot of just drums and live drums, playing a lot of jazz gigs, like residencies every Friday night, and just being in New Orleans and playing drums and drums and drums. I just fell in love once I started working with synthesizers and hardware that you could record and play all the parts yourself and, you know, produce something really nice. So I think a lot of that mentality flowed into the Thusly project. Like all three of us have brought our past experiences and channeled all that, and everybody had input and advice on every step of the process. It wasn't just one person was more in charge of like the mix than anyone else. Like we all had input. We all had input on the arrangement. So it's just been a fun project to be a part of for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we lost Caleb, but he's gonna restart his computer, and I think he'll be back. Fingers crossed. But yeah, this project has been really fun. It has been a very collaborative process, which I think has been, I don't know, refreshing for a lot of us, I think, for the three of us. And it was actually very chill as well. We just kind of met up when we could and just recorded when we could, just recorded at my house in this room right here. Super small space, but we made it work. And pretty happy with some of the songs that we released. So I guess while we're waiting for Caleb, we might just play some of the songs real quick. I don't think he'll miss hearing the music, or maybe he will. I don't know. Maybe he's like, he wants to hear the songs, but with that sweet Facebook and Twitch compression or something like that, audio compression. Okay, let me play some of the tracks real quick. The first one we're gonna play is we're gonna do Memories, I think, which is the first song that we had performed together. And yeah, the first song that we wrote and finished. So let's go ahead and play that one real quick. Check, 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 check. All right. Is everyone
Woo.
still on the call? Okay, Luke. Okay, there you are.
Hot
I'm back.
track.
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, Caleb. What's
Yep.
up, man?
Finally. All right. Sorry about that.
It's all good. Okay, cool. So yeah, while you were gone, Caleb, we listened to Memories.
hmm
Do you remember that song, Caleb?
I have a faint memory of it.
Yeah. Would you say that it's in your memories?
Yeah.
Okay, tight.
Yeah, I remember it.
Cool. So yeah, so that song was the first one that we wrote together, and first one we recorded together. And as a matter of fact, it was the very first one that we it was the very first time we all the three of us had met up together. We had decided to write and not only write but also record that song, actually.
Yeah, that was a funny day from my perspective, because I didn't know you at all before we did that day, James. I knew Luke.
Yeah.
Him and I had jammed a few times, and I knew his wife because we worked together prior. But it was so surreal, just kind of going in, and then we were just jamming, and then we were like, all right, we're just gonna record this, and then
Yeah.
who would have thought that it would have become what this is now,
Yeah. Yeah, I wanted to do it for like a few reasons. One is that like I had just started kind of like setting up a little studio over here, and I was kind of
Mhm.
anxious to like use it, but also be like these jams, like they kind of like they'll if you don't, I don't know, I feel like you get people together and like you'll jam and it's just like, oh, that was fun, yeah, let's do something with that, and if you don't like take action and like just like start doing things, then like a lot of times nothing really comes of it. It's just kind of like it's just like a hookup. It doesn't really turn into like a
Yeah.
relationship. You know what I mean? And
It's a good metaphor for it.
And so I liked the song and I liked where it was going. So I was kind of like, let's actually like let's put our money where our mouth is and let's just do it. If it sucks, it sucks. But why not? Let's just set up mics and do it.
Yeah. Yeah, that one was a lot of fun. I'm really glad you said that, because you're right with a lot of that. It's like, oh, there's been so many half-assed projects I've been a part of, that never, we never really recorded anything, but we were like, oh yeah, we're gonna hit it big if we just do this, and then nothing ever came of it. But it was kind of refreshing, and also like it was nice doing the home studio experience. I had done some with my other bands. I had done more like professional studio stuff, but personally, I mean, I always did demos and stuff like that, and really enjoyed recording stuff at my house. And there was a certain comfort that came out of recording at your place.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't feel stuffy or anything like that. Felt very, and just with how that day turned out, it just all came out very organically, and it's a really great song. In Memories, I mean, I love all the songs we did, but that one holds a special place because of how spontaneous that one was.
Right. Yeah, we didn't go into that day thinking we were going to make anything at all, and we kind of just like came up with the song. Like not everything was worked out in one day, but like pretty much like the composition and the arrangement and the baseline recording was, and then we kind of went in and did overdubs with vocals and a couple little things. I think we added some tambourine in there as well, actually.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, I think that's funny. That song too. That's the only song I play bass on. I think on outside of my personal recordings, on any other, project I've been on, I think that's the only one I've played bass on.
Yeah.
So that one's, that's fun for me.
Okay.
Stepping out of my comfort zone.
Yeah, getting some people in chat saying that my mic isn't hot enough. I'm actually kind of trying to whisper a little bit because Nicholas is sleeping next door. So I'm actually just put the mic closer to my face. I think this might actually help. Okay, I'm just gonna eat the mic. There we go. Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
two out of three of us happen to be dads in a band.
Yeah, this is all
Yeah,
pre.
pre-baby.
Yeah, so that has also made things kind of difficult for us to
Hmm.
actually make this project work better than it is right now, which is basically nothing.
And then Corona and
Yeah, for
everything
now.
else happened. Life happens,
Yeah,
but
but
it
anyway,
still exists. I mean, that's like you said. Like, I think us not being afraid of recording what we were trying to, what happened in that moment. Like, we recorded it, and we all liked it enough to where we wanted to pursue it. And it took us a while to pursue it, and it took a lot of effort and diligence. Multiple like sessions where we met up, multiple times where one of us would say, "Hey, like I was working on this idea. I recorded it on my phone." Like we would, like most of our communication was just sending ideas back and forth through a phone, which I've heard of other bands doing in the past, and I've always thought like, well, that's pretty cool, but it seems like a difficult way to write music together. But I think for us, it put enough ideas and enough meat on the table that whenever we went to James's house to work, it was like, okay, we know what we're kind of coming in to accomplish. Like we kind of have an idea of what we like, what we don't like.
mm-hmm.
Um, and piggybacking off what Caleb said, like going to your house, it was like, it was comforting, but it was also like, okay, we're still here to like kind of push this project. We're not really here just to hang. Like we had to get out of our house to go to your house. Like we had to like stop what we were doing and make time to like meet up. And that's kind of important. And recording all that and encapsulating it and sealing it,
Mm-hmm.
um, I think is what kind of solidified it. Like we kept making an effort to, like, this may not be the best take, this may not be the final version of this, but like let's record this and keep like working and refining. And I feel
Yeah.
that if you don't do that, ideas that are good that just maybe need more time in the fire and like more help,
Mm-hmm.
as artists we forget about that and we move on to something else or move on to the next jam or the next project, and we don't really like look at what we had the opportunity to work with. Like we overlook good ideas and um,
Yeah.
great moments. Really, like that's where a lot of this came from, was us just like trusting each other as musicians and going like listening to each other and like, oh, I hear this idea that James is playing or Caleb is playing, and like what can I do to complement that? Like what can I do to like follow them down this path and like make this vision like work?
Yeah.
And kind of it's
Yeah.
it's just a fun process. Like
Yeah. I think what we did right, to piggyback off of what Luke said, um, it's really easy to fall into that trap as musicians. It's like, oh, we're just gonna get together and jam, have a good time, and whatnot. But since we went into it with the intent of creating something out of those jams, we were really having a keen eye, or really ear, to find those little moments. And I think that's really emblematic in the fourth track on the record.
Time is now.
Time is now. Yeah, I'm blanking on the name of it. I just listened to it earlier. But yeah, because that one was really, it started off as a jam, and then there was just this little riff that
Yeah.
kind of came out of it that kind of we built off of. And yeah, it was that one especially.
Well, let's
But yeah,
let's go ahead and dive into actually kind of going through some of the track and looking at some of the actual stems of it. Let's see. So we can actually play. Luke had sent me a demo, like a phone recording, basically, of one of the first times we got together and we kind of jammed. So let me pull that into here and we can kind of listen to kind of where the song started from, which I think maybe Memories Draft. Wait, I can't
yeah,
pull these in. Why can't I pull
yeah,
these in?
I think it was like a rough.
Wait, what is
Um,
this audio format? Oh, All right. Well, if okay, I don't need to actually pull it into Ableton. Let me just
Yeah.
hit this, and I hope it doesn't blow our ears out. Just a moment. For what? Okay, there we go. You can hear that, like, you can hear like the phone is like right next to like the snare. And we were like calling out song sections. So that's kind of where it started at. And then you have some other things here. I actually didn't listen to some of these. Memories Rough.
That's
kind of the
more
same
rough
thing.
than rap.
Yeah, it's just kind of us jamming on that. And then Harmony
All right,
Rough.
my man.
Oh, that was.
All right, so 1.
Did we try to
2,
sing or something?
Yeah.
Have a good time, memory.
We haven't listened back to these before.
Forget bad times, memory. Can't remember, memories. A new day.
I did not listen to that. I completely forgot that we did that. That's actually kind of adorable.
It's fun. It's funny hearing back the different lyrics. You know,
Yeah.
It's like that one was like, "Oh, forget bad times," and then I definitely like what we landed on more than that.
That's the thing though, is like I think a lot of people think that things have to just be like perfect immediately, you know, and a lot of people get frustrated whenever they struggle to get better at something or create something, but really it's just like you just got to put something out there and just refine and refine and refine, you know? Like it's all about whittling down to like the most purest form of what you're trying to get at, you know? So
yeah, it's an iterative process for sure.
yeah.
One thing about Memories in general, at least with the framework, definitely the vocals we took our time with, and I learned a lot from you guys, just how y'all write melody on this track. Actually, all of our tracks, but you know, y'all go with the piano and like to figure out note by note, which is, you know, that was something I never did in my previous projects.
Well, yeah,
but,
I was never really much of a singer before this, and when I played in Prom Date, like I was always performing with like 2 or 3 really great singers, and they and I would try and sing with them, and it just wouldn't happen, and so I had to like really work at getting better at it. And one of the things that made me better was just really being very honest with myself and like recording myself, listening back, and also just making sure you know the melody. Like just don't throw your voice around and hope you're hitting a note. Like what is the melody? Like if we were to notate it, like what would it be? And so that's kind of why I always went to the piano. It's just like, what notes am I hitting? And it also helps when you sing too. It's like I actually start to like picture in my mind the steps. Like, okay, I know this interval is like a half step here, so I'm going to make sure I kind of just ease into it, just like very slightly. I don't need to like overshoot this interval, but here I know I need to like, you know, go up, you know, and like really make sure I'm hitting that interval properly. And so yeah, the piano and just listening back to myself were like some of the best ways of making sure that I improved as like a vocalist.
Yeah. That was I learned, you know, I'll say this now, I learned a lot of things about recording, because I mean, I think you guys both of y'all have way more experience recording than I did at the time. I mean, I wasn't even using Ableton whenever we first got together, and now that's like my only, you know, tried and true.
Right.
But yeah, just a lot of little techniques, and that one probably being the biggest one. I'm sure once we go through some of the other tracks, I'll point out some of the other ones. But yeah, actually going to the piano and figuring out the melody you want to say,
Mm-hmm.
And that was a big one.
Let's.
But one other thing about this.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
What I was going to say is one other thing about Memories that I wanted to point out was like this one came out really spontaneously, and I mean that in a sense that I feel like we all kind of came up, not in a jam sense, but like we jammed a little bit beforehand. I think we came up with the initial idea, but we really this one just kind of came out all at the same time. I think you had your guitar part figured out. I had the bass part figured out very quickly, and that's such a rare thing to happen. And that's like kind of one of the beauties of making music.
Yeah,
when those little moments like that happen, it's such a little beautiful moment.
Yeah, well, that was another reason why I was like, well, let's pull out the mics. Like we've kind of hit something that we like. Like why not put it on tape? You know, like let's just do it. You know.
Right.
Let's listen to this one last demo that you have here, Corix Fox Idea. Oh, is this what you had sent us, Luke?
Yeah.
Like the last part? Yeah.
Because we were trying to figure out how to make the outro more interesting.
Yeah. This is a great idea. And I think it was like, has like a little bit different syncopation than what we ended up on, right? Yeah. I remember this.
Mm-hmm.
Is that you singing, Luke?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that because I remember you sent that and I was like, okay, that is a great idea. But the one thing I didn't like was like the little, the 16th note kind of like thing at the beginning of it.
Yeah,
it felt like it felt like kind of like a Mickey Mouse kind of like, I don't know. It just felt too playful for the song.
Sure.
You know.
Sure.
But it was just a great idea.
That's one thing I think that with this song in particular, we really spent the most time on vocal compared to. I mean, we really had the instruments and everything else recorded and finalized very early on. But with the vocal, we really took our time. And, I remember I had the chorus lyric idea. And you guys were, I sent you all the wording and all that stuff. And you're like, okay, well, let's change this word. I think it was something like, when we were children or something like that.
Yeah,
You're like, no, let's change
this
to when we were younger. And
yeah, I do remember that.
It's just like the intention of we put a lot of thought into every single word.
Right.
And made sure all three of us were on board with it. Right. And I tip, and going back to previous projects I've been a part of, I kind of came up in like a blues sort of background, and like I didn't think too much of not necessarily lyricism, but not to that level. I would just kind of be like, I was more of a guitar player, and thinking of the lyrics on that level was such a, so it was so different. But I appreciate the result.
Yeah.
So much.
Yeah.
More.
There's Kevin Shields of My Bloody Valentine. Like they're like a total shoegaze band, and like you literally cannot understand any of the lyrics or vocals. Like they're just so hidden back in the mix, and there's just like all kind of crazy reverse reverb guitars and everything. But like one of the quotes I remember him saying was like, yeah, like you got to spend time on lyrics, man. Like why have a song with the lyrics that suck or something like that? And it's just so funny because you listen to this song and it's just like you can't make out anything that he's saying. Or like I'll play a little bit. Like it's just like whispering. But even this dude was like, he's like, yeah, you know what? Yeah, you gotta have good lyrics, and I just think it's like the funniest thing. So even like people who like the lyrics are like the furthest back, like you still gotta like put some real time and thought into it, you know. And again, like I think you came to us with an idea, which first off is like kind of brave in itself, because it's hard to like actually tell someone your like raw ideas for like a song, because usually it's like, oh, I'm embarrassed, I don't want them to think I'm like a bad lyricist or I'm like not good at being creative. But like you kind of like just went ahead and like put it out there, which was really cool. And then we kind of refined it together as a group. And so it's just, as long as you're putting something there, like that's way better than just like waiting till the end to be like, to like critique or something like that. You know what I mean? Be like, when we released that song, it was cool, but I don't know, I just don't like the lyrics. It's like, well, why didn't you say something in the process? You know, like,
Yeah.
like that's,
I mean, really, to be honest, like I had been with my previous project, I was the main lyric writer, main vocalist, and all that stuff.
mm-hmm.
And so it was honestly nice to have that kind of critical feedback and be like, hey, is this garbage or not? Because
Right.
you know, there's especially early on, and I mean every musician who writes music can relate to this, but early on, you write, if you write vocals and lyrics, you write some pretty terrible lyrics from time to time. And you especially if you put it on a recording,
Absolutely.
it haunts you. It haunts you. And there's a couple of songs for sure that applies to you with me. So
For sure.
I really, you know, I really appreciated the back and forth process with all of these songs.
Yeah.
And I don't think we really disagreed. Well, I wouldn't say we disagreed, but we personally, at least, like I never was at a point where I, you know, I was like, oh, these guys know what they're doing. You know, they have their own projects. I've listened to y'all's other music. Like I know you guys are really talented, so I'm not gonna not listen to them. You know.
Yeah.
I think it's just a matter of ego with the three of us, for lack of a better way to put it. Like we just don't care. We're like we're willing to take criticism, I guess.
Yeah, and I guess to wrap up y'all's discussion, that's everything you guys just discussed is exactly like what the point I was trying to make earlier, as far as we were like vulnerable with each other and trusted each other as musicians. Like we were able to send raw ideas and receive like, hey, I don't really like the syncopation in this lyric, but I think the idea is there. Right. Or like, I don't think this is maybe the best word choice or maybe the best choice of pitches. Like maybe we should like move this down and use a different melody. So trusting people you're around and just being okay with taking some criticism is like, it really goes a long way, because if we weren't open to trusting each other, we never would have been able to refine this song into what it is now.
Sure. Yeah, I think even like writing the second verse of the song, like it was kind of, I think I sent y'all a couple different ideas, and I remember kind of being like, I don't know if this is good, and I sent it to y'all, and you're like, yeah, I don't know if this is good. I was like, okay, all right, well, let's just try another verse, you know, try and write something different, you know, and like I think we ended up settling on something that we like all really liked. And you know, again, we don't have to sit here and circle jerk this, but yeah, we trusted each other, you know.
Yeah, but to actually talk about the second verse a little bit, one thing, because I remember one thing that came up in the discussion about that, I don't know if it comes out in the song, you know, to just from a casual listen perspective, but I remember we talked about the length differences of the choruses, I guess chorus sections, but at least the sections I sing versus the sections you sing.
Mm-hmm.
And the first verse is, I don't know how to really describe it, but it's kind of long, and then the first chorus is kind of short, but then the first verse is kind of short, and then the second chorus is kind of long,
right?
Because that's when we kind of go into that breakdown. And there was just that idea. I like the idea of symmetry.
Yeah,
you know, there's just that idea of symmetry, and I don't know where I got that from, but you know, because it's kind of an A-B, I guess C song structure.
Yeah, you can even kind of see it here, like on the timeline here. I don't know if you can see all the way to the left, but you can see that like the first verse here is like long, and like we cut it in half for the second verse, but then the chorus here, or the pre-chorus here was like shorter, but we like extended it there, which I think was really cool. It was like kind of substituted like a bridge, because like the pre-chorus, what we did is we just like extended it a little bit longer in order to like make up for like kind of like a bridge or like a middle 8 section, you know, which is always kind of like the hardest part of the song, of like a pop song to write, in my opinion. You can kind of just like listen to those two real quick. So like this little section right here is like a really great idea that Caleb had to kind of like, it brings up the intensity, and like it acts as like kind of like a bridge section of the song, to kind of differentiate it from the rest of the song, and it like adds like a really nice high point, you know, so that we could kind of drop out at this chorus right here. Right there where the drums go out, you know, which makes that last chorus just like hit a lot harder, you know?
Yeah, and then that along with the idea that Luke had about adding the extra vocals there,
exactly.
It really just kind of gave it so much body and drive. That's one thing I love. I love how all these songs, maybe except for the third song, but the third song is kind of the odd one out. But we'll get to that.
Yeah.
Is that you know, all these songs have such forward momentum, and that's just something I love about, you know, songs in general. You know, that's kind of a songwriting thing I always try to achieve.
So talking about kind of like the just production of the song a little bit, like again, because this song was just kind of like, I don't know, we did it really quick. We didn't really have a lot of time to kind of isolate ourselves, like isolate the guitar and the drums and the bass and everything. Well, bass we did DI, direct in, so it was isolated, but the drums and the guitar record in the same room. So like from a mixing standpoint, I think this is probably my least favorite song in a way, but there's still something really like special about the mix that makes it feel kind of like the way we recorded it, because it wasn't done in a very strict manner. We didn't really think about it very much. It actually adds kind of this like lo-fi quality to it, which sometimes really I like, and sometimes it kind of bothers me, because I wish we could have spent a little bit more time on this. But at the same time, it there's something, I don't know, it just feels a little different. Like there's something like kind of, and I don't want to use this word, but it's something kind of magical about it that makes it kind of feel like nostalgic in this sort of like lo-fi way. So if you like see here with the drums, like I didn't even really own very many mics at the time either for this. I used some, actually maybe this mic, like just SM57s, doing the recorder man method, like the show doing over the shoulder and like overhead, and these dynamic mics just kind of like doing this song in particular just like solidified for me that I really needed to get like a condenser to get any sort of better fidelity for like the high end, because just the cymbals and all the high end shit is just so crunchy in this song. So just listen to the drums, it kind of adds like a character to the drums, but at the same time I always kind of hated showing this to like friends of mine who are more into audio fidelity and like actually like engineers, because I always felt like it was kind of embarrassing to have this kind of just mushy, crunchy drums. But in the end, I actually think it turned out really well. There's like a shit ton of shit that I added to this. Like I added like this warmer, and like this is a new plugin that was on Ableton Live 10, which is like basically this drum bus, which I used to like add some extra or cut the transients a little bit so you didn't hear the guitar bleed as much. So multi-band compressor, and then just like this standard, I don't know, preset, just warm and wide drums. I use presets all the time. I'm not gonna even front. I throw presets and stuff and just tweak it. And there's like a compressor at the end,
Yeah.
And that's on the group. I kind of looked at a couple frequencies that were problematic, and I ducked them on like the shoulder and the overhead. But really, like, it was hard to get the sound right for the drums because there's a whole bunch of guitar bleed, and just there's nothing is really mic'd precisely. It's just capturing everything. So it was what it was when recording the drums for this. But luckily, Luke is just a fantastic drummer, and so like he's always just gonna give you a good take, so you don't even have to worry about like cutting or editing anything.
One take, Tom.
Take Timmy.
Thanks, appreciate it.
Yeah, I remember we were talking about, or you had brought up maybe like redoing the production or remixing it, kind of on the back half.
Yeah.
Once we had some other tracks and kind of more of a definitive sound figured out. But for me personally, it was just like, this was, especially with the instruments, so it was the first day we had met, and then the first day I had jammed with the two of y'all together, and I don't know, there was just something about that I just was like, I gotta kind of defend, even though it's not as clean as maybe Love Is Not a Game, especially. There was something about that I wanted to kind of keep and really kind of honor with the record, just because it was such that experience, at least for me, it was so special that I wanted to kind of keep that in there.
True.
For sure.
I've got Twitch open on my phone so it doesn't crash my computer again. Someone in the chat said, any household objects used for weird effects.
Yeah.
And to answer that, I don't think, James, you can probably answer it better, but I don't think there were, other than for the tambourine, we were trying not to make it so hot. So we took a rag or something, like some sort of like, I guess it's like a rag or a dish towel of some sort, and hit the tambourine against that in someone's hand to kind of dampen it a little bit.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say that's a weird effect of any sort. That's really the only thing I can think of.
I will say, on the tambourine subject, if I remember correctly, we just, since we're talking about production as well and how we did what we did, I'm pretty sure we took a few takes where there's this door that's basically behind where I would always set up the drums, and we set up a mic in that door, and or kind of in front of the door, still inside of the room, and I recorded really close to the mic, so like I was shaking the tambourine like right in front of the mic, and we didn't really like the quality of like the timbre that we were getting from the tambourine. No pun intended. But what we did was, James was like, why don't you just step out into the hallway? And I was probably 10, 15, 20 feet away from the mic, and we did another take of tambourine out in the hallway. And I'm not sure which one of those we used, or if we even used either one of them, but it's always cool to be open to just ideas in general when you're trying to record something.
Yeah, for sure. Tambourines are weird to record.
Yeah.
Because there's...
And you had two tambourines, which like one was like really bright, one was really kind of dull.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, at least in my experience with tambourines and any sort of, kind of weird, percussion instrument, you always kind of get it too bright or too dull. And generally I like to go with the too bright one, because then you can at least cut the highs out in post. but
Yeah, tambourines are
at
so
least
weird.
personally.
Yeah, I think people think that tambourines are kind of like brain dead instruments, like a triangle. You know, well a triangle is not a brain dead instrument, but like there's like this like
No.
category of like when people talk about like, oh, I'll join your band, and they don't really play anything. They're like, oh, I'll play tambourine or I'll play like triangle or whatever. But like honestly,
It's
those
way harder.
yeah,
Yeah.
those are actually like probably some of the instruments that like if someone doesn't know what they're doing, it's not the one you want to hand them because
Yeah.
there's so much high end and it takes up so like it travels so quickly and like it just cuts across a mix or if you're even in a room or like in a venue
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
and if that goes off time you're messing up the drummer, you're messing up everyone else, and like it can just turn into like a train wreck so fast. And then like when you record it too,
And it's so easy. It's so easy to get off time for those. I got an egg
Oh, yeah.
shaker recently for my own personal studio, and I'm not a natural percussionist. I'm a guitar player by nature, I guess you can say. And it took me a long time to get used to playing that egg shaker.
yeah,
It takes a lot more practice than what people would think.
for sure.
Um,
So anyway, shout outs to tambourine players. I remember when we
Yeah.
recorded tambourine in Prom Date. For some reason, David was always the tambourine guy, and I don't know why. He wasn't the drummer. Steven played drums with us, but like anytime there was tambourine time, I was like, "All right, David, you're up." He's like, "Okay." He was like, I don't know why he was always the tambourine guy, but he just nailed the tambourine takes every time. I don't know. So, all right. Well, I'm
Yeah.
gonna play one more thing from this because we probably should like move on to another
move
song.
on. Yeah.
I'm probably just gonna play the background vocals and like the ending of just the vocals because I think it really came together really well, and I like listening to like acapella vocals a lot. So we're just gonna listen to that real quick. Oh, we're gonna listen to us doing our little like
all those times we
this thing.
played and danced at night. It feels alright. And we danced at night. Feels
That's me and Luke doing that background vocal, and then Caleb comes in at the very end and kind of fills it out.
I don't know if I'll see you again, my friend. I don't know if there's space to begin again. I don't know if I'll see you again, my friend. I'm moving on to a new day.
And then we like both sing. Well, all three of us sing together at the end. It's just I don't know. I think we really knocked it out of the park with that like that vocal at the end there.
Yeah, it's a lot of
Yeah,
fun.
that was. I have to give total credit to you two because y'all really. I mean, not only did Luke come up with the idea to do the extra vocals at the end, I think it kind of out of utility. I did the little, other out of place parts, for lack of a better term, at the end. But
Yeah.
and then also James, I think you specifically had the idea to do the harmonization at the very last word, which I mean,
yeah.
it's just the little details like that, and I think it'll become more emblematic in Love Is Not a Game because that's really where her acapella,
vocals came into play.
for sure, that would be an interesting one to talk about.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I really like those vocals that we did there. When we came up with that memories part, I think that was like, okay, this song's like really good now. Like we can do this song. Like it's gonna be killer.
Yeah.
So anyway, all right, well, let's wrap up memories. Because we have like 3 other songs to go through, and we've already been at this like an hour. So I don't know if we can keep up this pace. We're hoping to keep it maybe like a 2-hour stream. Though I love doing this kind of stuff, so I could really talk all night about process and creativity
for the music nerds.
Yeah, exactly. A couple things in chat. Someone says, Rumham says, a lot of people overproducing drums, so the sound is refreshing. Yeah, like just set up a mic and just play. Don't. I mean, it's cool to know what you're doing, but like done is better than perfect always. So just do it. Just finish it, and you're just gonna get better and better each time. And then mic and a condom and a water bottle. Yeah, maybe we could have done that technique. I don't know why we didn't think of that. That's actually a really good idea. So so you can like record through water, but you don't damage the mic. That's actually a really good idea. And no, that wasn't a
57.
yeah, I just
Something
did this. And then no, that wasn't a bunch of Beatles did it. Yeah. Yeah, this
Pet
mic was
Sounds.
used on Pet Sounds actually.
Probably for the kick, it'd work well. Actually, what I did want to ask one thing before we moved on is that for the drums, did we use mostly SM57s or what mics did we use?
Yeah, for this song it was just SM57s, which again, I was kind of like, I don't think it gave us a lot of high end. It made it really crunchy. Like the high end's not very pristine. But yeah, I mean, it was just 2 SM57s that we used for this. No kick.
There's a certain punchiness that comes from that, though.
Yeah, I mean,
I find
it works. It has a sound, you know. It gets the job done, but we kind of started to do different things. So should we go to Time Is Now next, maybe, or what do you want to do?
Let's just go in the order of the album. Or
Okay.
I don't know. I was thinking "Love Is Not a Game," but
Sure,
we
we'll
could
do
probably
Love
talk
Is Not
about
a
that
Game
one for a
then.
while.
All right,
Yeah.
so no, I don't want to save that.
Yeah, I
let's-
consider those two to be like sister songs on this album, like this EP. Like they're
Yeah.
very, like the feeling and what we were trying to accomplish felt the same, and then the last two songs are a little different
Yeah.
from these,
just-
but they all work in cohesion, in my opinion.
So let's go
I'm
ahead.
gonna
And just,
step away for a quick moment.
yeah, it's fine. We're
while
gonna
you play this.
we're just gonna go ahead and play the song. Let me switch over to this scene. Look at my scenes, guys. Oh my goodness. Okay, we're gonna play the song. So this is the song "Love Is Not a Game." Nope, that's not the song.
Name who you wanna be with.
is Love Is Not a Game by the band Thusly.
KERX, the Kirkser, 103.3.
Yeah, so that song was definitely kind of a step up for us, in my opinion. Memories is a great song, but I think Love Is Not a Game is probably the most polished, cleanest song of the bunch, I would say.
Yeah. Memories being the first one, Love Is Not a Game is the last one we recorded. And
Yeah.
by then, it took us a long time to get Love Is Not a Game down. I think it took us, months to get that one down, because we just there were so many drafts we went through that we weren't the happiest with.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah.
Let me see if I can pull up some of those, because this song definitely did go through multiple different stages of writing. So
Yeah.
we have, this is draft 1. Oh, right. Okay. So this was right after.
Yeah. I was playing bass on this one.
Yeah, I kind of wish we stuck with this bass line, or at least had added elements to this bass line to the final version of the song. But this song, I remember what happened was Caleb came over to my house for just kind of like a writing session, and we came up with just this little vamp, and we put words to it. And I think actually you sent me demo of that kind of writing process, like the two of us just kind of like putting this together.
And you think that you might be having fun, but darling, don't you
This is like the
know
quickest vocal take.
love is not a game to a song. And you think that you are the only one, but darling, don't you know love is not a game to a song. And you think that you might be having fun.
Yeah, so I remember you came over. Let me just play like that little demo real quick. Shoot, where is it? Love Is Not a Game. Which one? Writing.
It's not a game to song.
Yeah.
And you might think that you're having fun, but you know that not everyone. Love is not a game to some. And you think that you're having
So we were like trying to work out the melody and kind of the lyric
Yeah.
idea
Don't you
here.
know that
Yeah.
But the chords were all there pretty
love
much.
is not a game to some.
So we kind of.
If we can, to backtrack real quick,
Uh-huh.
if memory serves me, the way this song came together originally, I had an idea for the chorus. I had the chorus chords all down, no lyrics or anything, and then I sent it to you guys. This is one of the ones we kind of went back and forth. I think the other songs, excluding the third one, we kind of jammed on. Memories and Times Now, we kind of jammed on, and that's how we
Mhm.
came to those. But this one, it very much was, okay, I have an idea. I have this idea for the chorus, for the chords. And then James, you added that the verse chords, and then you also extrapolated on what I sent you for the chorus chords to add the little walk down at the end of it.
Right, yeah.
And oh man, dude, when you sent the verse chords, like those were so I remember listening to those for the first time and being like, oh, this is such a good chord progression.
That's one thing James is extremely good at, in my opinion.
Oh yeah.
Um,
I
He always
wish I had
chalks
that
it up to
ability.
being very, like he'll say, "Oh yeah, it's just like standard, like good songwriting, like Steely Dan and stuff that he borrows heavily from." But I'm always just
Shout
like,
out to
well,
the
it
dude.
might be standard to you, but it sounds really good and it works, and
Yeah,
it works for a reason. I mean,
blew
yeah,
my mind. And then I don't know when the vocals when we started working on the vocals, but I know you had an idea for the first verse. You had lyrics written for the first verse. And then I remember you kind of sending us a demo. I was like, well, I have this first verse down, but I don't know what to write for the second verse at all. And then I just had this idea that, like, just such inspiration hearing your melody and your lyrics. And I just built off of that for the second verse
Mm-hmm.
and wrote those lyrics.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think you kind of had a general idea for the chorus lyrics, but I don't know if you wanted me to sing the chorus lyrics or what. But I remember kind of being like, well, it'd be nice to have Luke sing the chorus lyrics, because then it'd have, kind of going back
All
to that
three of
idea of
us.
symmetry that
Yeah.
with memories, it was I didn't want to, like, one person to sing the verse and the chorus, and then the chorus and
Right.
vice versa.
Right.
So it was nice to have that balance with the songwriting structure.
Yeah, it was a nice way to kind of close out the session with, like, not that we were like, oh, this is the last song we're gonna record, but, like, I did the first verse, you came up with that second verse, which was really great. You had that nice, like, high point in it, which was like, that's something you were always really good with, was like taking an idea and, like, bringing it to, like, the next level. You're like, oh, we did this here, let's build on that theme and do this here. And there's something that I was kind of like just brain dead, would be like, oh, we'll just do the same thing that we did in the first verse. And then you were like, oh, we'll in the second verse we'll do that, but we'll had this, like, I'll be fine, and you, like, did that really high, and
Yeah.
it adds, it creates this, like, climax and, like, a it's something something to come down from, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then, yeah, like, adding Luke on at the end, it's like, oh, let's give him the lead vocal of the chorus. It'd be, like, a real nice way of, like, having all three of us, on the track. And,
Yeah.
Luke sang on Memories, but he just did background vocals, So,
Yeah,
like, having, like,
I wanted to add on that and say that, like, he didn't do lead on any but this one part. So I mean, he has a good ear, so I wasn't doubting his ability to hold a tune, but he kind of personally, he blew me away.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
I was like, oh yeah, you have a much better vocal than you give yourself credit for. So
I knew he
oh,
had
well,
it
thank
in
you.
him. I knew he had it in him because I'd heard him sing a couple things before, and he's just also, like, a grinder, like, if you give him a task, like, he will do it, like, even if it takes him, like, few hours, like, he'll grind it. I remember you telling me that you would be at work and you would just, like, sing the melody all day,
Yeah.
just to, like, get it down, and, like, and you
Yeah.
came in and you were prepared. Like, that's just one of the things I like working with you, is just, like, your professionalism, like, you come in and you're always prepared. And I think that's just, like, a music school thing. Like, I'm sure that you probably took that from doing UNO jazz studies, like, you came in, you're like, all right, I'm ready to knock this out, and you did. It was great.
Yeah, thank you. And it's cool too, because, like, even though, like, you can be as professional, like, just, like, take that for example, like, even though you can be as professional as you want to be, and, like, you and me had worked out an idea for what I was going to sing, and we played it on the piano, and, like you said, I was at work, I was literally visualizing the steps on the piano and, like, singing, and then I would, like, check it at work, like, on break, and then, like, I did that for a few days in a row, and, like, checking, like, my diction, like, how I was singing it and all that stuff, the enunciation. And even though I was, like, that prepared, like, as a musician, you still have to be able to receive criticism, because, like, the very first take, I was like, cool, I feel like I did a really good first take. Like, I didn't really mess up any pitches. I didn't mess up any syllables or anything. Like, I said exactly what the lyrics were. Like, cool, like, I'm golden. Do a few more of these, and, like, we'll wrap up some of these choruses. And you had an ear, James. You were listening for the way I was singing it, like, the texture kind of didn't mesh. It was, like, too clean and, like, too precise. It sounded like I was really professional, or like I spent a lot of time working on it. And you were like, no, I want your voice to be more airy. I want it to have more breath in it. I want it to be softer. And you have to be able to take those criticisms and like roll with the punches. And it was like, that threw me for a loop for like a few takes. I was like, well, holy crap. Like, how do I take this thing that I spent a lot of time on that I thought was like refined and go back and tweak it to what someone else is giving me feedback on? I mean, and that would be like doing like if you were in a studio doing session work, like you might play a good take, but then the dude behind the mixing board, your engineer, might say, yeah, that was great and all, but like the energy wasn't quite there. Like, can you do this to make it feel different or sound different? So just always be like comfortable with receiving criticism, especially from people that you trust. You know,
Right.
that's why it's so great to work with you guys, because none of it was ever showboaty criticism or like, no, this is my idea, I'm running this song. It was all for like, how do we just like elevate this song to be as good as it can be?
Right. I want to see if I
Yeah.
can find some of those clips of like some of those first takes, and I don't know if I actually have it in this song file. I'm gonna play one of your vocal takes. I'm sorry, Luke.
Go ahead.
Soloed.
No, I don't.
Oh yeah, we were thinking about maybe having you in that part of the song, but I think we ended up giving it to
Yeah.
Caleb. I don't know if I have it actually, but
Think that you might be having fun,
yeah.
but darling, don't you know? Love
kind of-
is not a
I think one
game
of the-
to some. And
We
you
did a
think
lot
that
of double
you-
tracking on the vocals
Yeah.
for this record. I think for everything except the third and the fourth track, which the third track is just me singing and the fourth track is just you singing.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a certain emotional power that comes from just the single tracking. Otherwise, we just do double tracking for everything except for maybe some of the background stuff. You
I
can
think
correct me if I'm wrong.
yeah, I think in Time Is Now, that was just a solo vocal, except for the background vocals. Like the lead vocal was just solo, but pretty much everything else we did double, which is it adds. It does a lot because one, it of course makes the vocal thicker, but two, I think it also helps with the vocalist's confidence as well. Like the three of us, we're not really, you know, we're not like classically trained vocalists. You know, we're getting by, and so like having that. The doubled, I don't know what it is about doubling a vocal, but it just sounds more confident when you have like two of you singing rather than just like one naked voice. You know, like when it's just like that one single naked voice, like every little tremble or like kind of like inflection just sounds, it's just like hard to listen to. But when it's like doubled for some reason, it's like, oh, actually this sounds good now. I don't know why.
Yeah. I've been working on a solo project, and most of my tracks have been, or at least vocal tracks have been doubled,
Yeah.
and I think it gives you a little more room for kind of error. I don't know. There's something about one track maybe being a little off at certain points. You know, it's not saying you should be off key or anything like that, because then it'll sound bad. But you know, if it's not quite, you know, maybe a few cents off.
Yeah, well, JT in the chat brought up chorus, which it is.
Yep.
Like having
like having multiple, like I remember even in jazz school, like when we would write tunes for class, having two different instruments play the same pitch makes it so much thicker because there's differences in timbre, there's differences in like pitch, so there's like subtle detune. Like if you take two or three oscillators all playing the same pitch and then you like pitch shift one down like 10 cents and then you pitch one up like 15 cents, then all of a sudden you have this enormously thick like bass line or sub or whatever you're working on.
You get that.
There's like phasing, there's subtleties in phasing and like transients. So it really just stereo with like all of that takes effect whenever you double track the exact same thing twice, but it's not perfect. You know, it's not quantized or auto-tuned or pitch shifted. Like it's two live takes, it's two real takes of the same exact information, but it's not like an exact replica, if that makes sense.
Right.
Yeah. I went to build off of that before we move on. With Memories and this song, I think we both, correct me if I'm wrong, James, but we didn't really do any ISO tracks other than maybe the piano or no, maybe it was the bass. But we played all the tracks live together because for that kind of organic feel.
For this song you're talking about?
I think so, right?
Yeah,
I know we played the guitar.
Yeah, this song, so like Memories, we all tracked together, and we started tracking the other two songs together as well, and then we eventually kind of like, I think for Time Is Now, we kind of ended up performing individual takes. But I remember for this song in particular, we tried to take demo recordings that we had done and just like slap on like Luke's drums and everything else, and it just didn't sound right. So we ended up just scrapping everything, and we just practiced and rehearsed doing a live take, and then we isolated the guitar, had the drums, DI'd bass, and we just like knocked out the take. And I think that's another reason why this song sounds so clean and so good, is because we had lived with the song for so long. We knew exactly what we wanted. We rehearsed. We were ready to go, and then we took our time to like record as well. Like we made sure that everything was right for the recording of all the instruments. So it's just me on bass, you were playing guitar, and Luke was on drums. And I think we did maybe like, it might be in this file, like the amount of takes that we did. I think we did 4 takes of it, and eventually we just settled on maybe like the 4th or 3rd take or something like that. And and I think that's why this song sounds so good. It's just because we knew exactly what we wanted, you know. And it just takes some time to get there. Like, and it's almost like the very opposite of Memories. Like Memories, we was just like one take Andy, you know, like we just kind of like did it, and it was like, all right, that's it. We're just gonna roll with those punches. But like this song, we were like, we did multiple different like versions, and eventually we were like, you know what? Let's just go ahead and just re-record it and do it right, and we did. I think I have this one. Maybe this one? No. Oh man, there's one of these that's like, it's super low. I don't know, one of these is like, it's like pretty much like the demo that you and I recorded, Caleb, and I got Luke to come in and just record drums, and we just recorded the drums over the demo, and it just sounded bad, like it just didn't work.
Yeah. So I think we used a different guitar too, and it just kind of, you know, it sounded real, for lack of a better term, plastic.
Yeah.
You know, which I don't know, it didn't work for a long time, which sucked because we knew the songwriting was there. It was just kind of like making it work.
Right.
One quick production note I want to say is that with the guitar, we played it live all together, but the guitar was in a totally different, the amp was in a totally different room. It was in your bathroom.
Yeah.
And we just had it mic'd directly.
That toilet verb.
It was my, that toilet verb. And
so it sets
we
it
had
off.
it, and I don't remember precisely, but like I remember we brought in my PV Tube King, and that thing, it has a buzz to it that is just kind of annoying. It's really buzzing now. I've just been doing DI for my personal stuff. But
I'm trying to remember what mic we used on it. I think we used the Sennheiser 421 on that. And then for the drums, we just had 3 mics. I think the overhead was that 414 clone that I have made by Warm. I think the snare was just a 57, and then the kick, I don't even remember what we used for the kick. Usually I label what mic I'm using, but for some reason I didn't mic it. But I think the drums came out really good. And there's like not much going on here. Well, I say that, remind me, I was on the group track. But here it's a lot of just stock plugins. The gate and the kick, snare. It's like the overheads there. This is for the nerds in the chat. I had some people saying, show me the stems, and JT's in here, so I gotta show off this stuff, of course. There's a kick. This kick is really super low and subby, but you got a lot of the kick and the snare mic. It was actually, I think, kind of like in between the snare. It was definitely bottom mic'd. You mic'd the bottom of the snare, which I think got a lot of the kick in there too. But it's all mono. All of our drums are mono. We didn't do any drums with any sort of stereo panning. Which I think is kind of an old school technique, but it's also like we just didn't have enough mics to do that. And also I don't know how to do that, so
this whole project was kind of restrained by there were certain technical restraints that we had.
Yeah,
you
which
know,
is
just
good
like
sometimes.
The amount of mics we had and all that stuff. But like, truthfully, I'm of the opinion that most of that stuff doesn't really matter at the end of the day.
Yeah, if it sounds good, it is good, you know.
Yeah. There's so much you can do in post now.
For sure. I think there's actually a plugin that I don't have here, which is a the Ready bass made by I think Kush. So there's actually some growl to this bass that we're not getting, but it's just like this tube driver that goes on there. But yeah, I recorded the bass. I remember you and I talked about like locking up the kicks like right before we performed this loop. The kick and the bass, which I think really adds a lot to like the cleanness of this recording. And I think I was listening back to some of the demos of this, and I was trying to be like really cute with like the bass part, and I was adding all these like little fills and everything. And I remember listening back to some of those, being like, "Dude, this is so stupid. Just like play the root, just like play the bass." And so it made everything just make a lot more sense, just playing simple.
Yeah, actually, I'd like to take this moment to talk about like one thing I learned about bass from you guys was that like James, you really like to keep the bass simple and not overwrite it, not do all these weird fills and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't know, personally coming from a guitar player standpoint, because I think guitar players are kind of, especially those who know how to solo and do that sort of thing. At least personally, when I first started playing bass, I had a tendency to really kind of just do these weird and wild things, like really try to kind of solo like I was on the bass.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, really, you're trying to, in songwriting in general, you're trying to keep a really tight rhythm section. And honestly, most of the time, one of the things I learned from this project was that you have to keep the bass really tight with the kick. And that was something I kind of knew before, but not to the, I hadn't seen it in action and seen the methodology.
Yeah.
And that was something that was kind of discussed, at least between me and James, because we would kind of trade bass roles on this one.
Yeah, we weren't really sure who was going to play what on these songs. And eventually, I don't really know why, but I ended up playing the bass guitar, and you ended up playing guitar. And you sounded great with the guitar. Let's listen to a little bit of the guitar. I mean, we both just kept these parts like just brain dead simple, just because we knew that the melodies were strong enough that we didn't have to do anything intricate or kind of crazy with the harmony, the all the stuff.
Yeah, it's not like we were trying to be a funk band or anything. It was very much a melody driven band.
Project. Exactly. So we knew like the lyrics and the vocals were really strong enough, so we just played just like super simple. And I think we also knew that we were going to add some like lead stuff with like a synth later. So like we didn't really do anything too crazy with like the bass or the guitar on this. And then I went and added some keys in after, which I tried to make like as invisible as possible. I love like invisible instruments that you don't hear. Like even when I listen to this song back, sometimes I'm just like, oh, there's keys in this track. I forgot about that.
Yeah. It gives it it fills it up so well though.
Yeah, it makes it very dark.
I couldn't imagine it. I think in one of the demos, the demo I sent you, especially that part right there, during the solo.
Oh yeah, the solo.
Yeah.
That's my favorite part of this entire track. Specifically, I mean, yeah, it sounds awesome, but I just love like the arrangement idea that we all landed on. Like, who, like, a lot of this music was intended to be kind of like stemming from like a very pop vein, like, you know, A B, very just like almost copy paste with like some different changes. But I mean, I don't know if I've ever really heard of a song where a guitar solo is stuck in between verse 2. And the way we did it, it lines up like, I love how it fits with the lyrics, because verse 2, the first half of verse 2 is like, it almost sounds like you're sad about what happened, and like there's this bluesy guitar solo like in the middle of the verse, and then coming out of the guitar solo, it's like you're on the realization. The lyrics are I'll be fine. So it's like, I don't know, like Caleb's background is blues, and like blues is about feeling something, hurt, pain, or emotion or whatever. So it's just it's really cool that, I don't know, I just think it's like really cool, like who throws a guitar solo in the middle of a verse, like
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
And
just
actually, to talk about, oh, I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, it's
but
cool.
to talk, I think the formation of how we kind of got to that solo section is kind of interesting, because for, you know, we could go back to the earlier versions of the song, but that solo wasn't in there for a long time. I think I had the verse written, because I wrote the second verse lyrics kind of going off of what James had written for the first verse lyrics. And I followed his verse melody. And I remember specifically for the second half of the second verse, you know, it was like the whole song was so sad, so I wanted to kind of add a kind of a lyrical thing that was like, you know, I don't want to be brought down by the sadness, you know. I don't want it to end on a sad note, you know.
Yeah.
But structurally speaking with the song, you know, we kind of, I think all three of us felt there was something missing for a long time, which is why this song took so long. And I remember that day that we were talking about, it needs another section of some sort. We were talking about, okay, where does this solo of some sort, whether it's a guitar solo or whatever, where does it fall? And I was like, oh, well, does it go in between the first chorus and the second verse, or later, or whatnot? Right. And then I don't know, I think I suggested it, but I think it was like, why don't we just throw it in the middle of a verse? And then so we tried that, and it felt good. I think one of the demos, actually, we do it, and the drum beat doesn't change at all during the solo. Yeah. It's kind of the same. I don't know but the hi-hat's kind of the same. And then somehow we kind of landed on that quarter note hi-hat, and just that small thing with the hi-hat changed the whole entire vibe.
The feeling of that part,
section. Yeah.
So we can kind of listen to Luke's on the ride, and then we kind of brought it down for the guitar solo, just like really make sure that part shine through, you know. I do remember we talked specifically about like me and Luke, right, like before we did the take, we were just like, oh, okay, let's just bring this down as like as super simple as possible, and then like the halfway point, just kind of like maybe make it like a little bit funkier. And I love the tone of the guitar that you got for it. Like it's kind of this really wiry, kind of like,
yeah, that's that Stratocaster, I think American Standard it's just specific to that guitar.
Yeah, this like the
Can you play that demo I sent you? I forget the title of it, but it has a solo on there where we don't change it. We're prior to that.
Yeah, I'm just vibing to this drum track. Hold up.
Oh, I feel that.
Hey, I don't be sampling that.
I don't know. I really like how you kind of switched it up there, just like super straight, and then it just gets kind of like just like a little funky, you know. I don't know. just nice. It's just real nice.
Yeah. That's one thing Luke is really good at. It's just the small, little, subtle. It's yeah. See, it's like a totally different hi-hat.
Yeah, yeah.
The energy is totally different
Yeah,
between
Yeah,
the two
and-
takes.
And then I was listening to it earlier today, kind of prepare for this, and I was thinking about it. It's like that energy that was kind of in the drums, and that's why with recording you always want to start with the drums, just kind of build up from there. I think anyway, but you know, it totally changed how I approached the guitar solo as well. You know, that guitar
Sure.
solo was way more. On the demo was way more just kind of. You know, I was trying to do like more faster paced stuff, I guess you can say.
Mm-hmm.
But on the one we recorded, it was way more, you know, slower. Kind of. I took my time and built up to it.
Yeah,
You know,
that feels nice. It's a very vulnerable guitar solo, which I really like. There's like
Yeah.
no gain to it. Like I love that very Stratocaster kind of plucky kind of sound, and it's like not like the cleanest. I remember we pretty much just did like one take of it, and we were like, oh, we'll kind of maybe do another take later, and eventually we just kind of liked it, and we were like, you know what, it is what it is. It's got its own character to it, and we just kind of like let it be.
yeah.
You know.
There's a specific riff in there that I couldn't recreate it. It was driving me nuts because there was like one part I wanted to do cleaner and I just like punch it in,
Right.
and it drove me nuts. And I hear it now, but now that I've kind of had time to accept that's what it is, you know, I've kind of gained a new appreciation for it. But just one of those things when you're recording, you know, only I probably hear that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it works.
Yeah, it definitely does.
JT asks, Luke, are you doing those doubles with one or two hands? I'm assuming he's
Uh,
talking about like the funky part.
Yeah. So that, JT, to answer your question, that was just one hand. Can you play that, James?
Yeah.
Yeah, so those are the doubles that you're hearing, which I'm sure they are. That's about the only time in this song that the snare gets that busy. Yeah, that was just the left hand, and I think I was keeping the hi-hat going either with the right hand or with my foot. And I'm pretty sure, like, I was trying to keep them as even as possible, but I almost, in my mind, felt the first one being a little softer and the downbeat being a little louder. So I was kind of like almost doing an upstroke on that first one. That way the stick was already up. And then when it came down, it was like ready for the next one.
He says, so clean for one hand.
Oh, thanks, man. Appreciate that.
But yeah, we probably should keep moving on. Some really cool synth stuff here.
Mini
which
log.
I really like, yeah.
Yep.
That's the mini log that Luke had bought, which we used to
I
have a bunch of.
now own.
Yeah. Caleb ended up buying it from him. But yeah, just some really cool, like, we wanted a textural difference or timbre difference because like everything else in the song is so smooth, but having these like kind of like very like sawtooth biting synths I think was like a nice timbral difference to the rest of
It
like,
helps that the
song.
counter melody is straight ballin'.
That's
Yeah.
true, yeah. It's like with the
Yes.
vocals, they like kind of go hand in
And
hand.
you think that you are the only one, but
Again,
don't
I think
you
the thing why
know?
biggest strong suits, James, is that like your part writing is really good. I mean, to me, good part writing is it sounds good as a whole, but then you can identify each voice and then sing its line, and it's super melodic. Like when I hear that part, I just like zero in on the synth because I feel like it has the most interesting melody, even though all the parts summed together is interesting. It's just like, man, I love the like
I
the
think,
distance away from the other notes that it sits at.
well, if
It's
you're talking about the
just killing.
synth, I think maybe Caleb played this part, right? With the synth?
Yeah, so
Did you come up with
as
that,
I
Caleb?
remember, yeah, I came up with the
I'm sorry.
chorus synth part. How dare you, Luke? My greatness has been
Memory.
no,
I forgot.
I'm messing. No, actually, that's one thing I really like about that track that I wanted to say was that, like, with the synth parts, and really with this project as a whole, we kind of all did different parts, and like we never felt restricted. At least personally, I never felt restricted to like oh you're the drummer, you're the guitar player. It's like no, we can kind of comment or at least contribute with the with certain different instruments. So I did the synth part for the chorus part, and then I think you and James came up with the idea for the verses.
I think Luke did this part. Or maybe that was you, Caleb.
No, it wasn't me. That part wasn't me.
I think Luke did that, and I think I did
Yeah, that
this.
feels familiar.
I did these chords. Yeah, so all three of us like added synth to the song, which I think is really cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then just the last thing I want to talk about is just like the vocals. I think that's probably my favorite part of this project
Oh,
is
totally.
like.
Oh
it's like
yeah,
the
how did we
ending.
not get to the vocals yet?
But darling, don't you know love is not a game to some, and you think that you might be having fun. But darling, don't you know love is not a game to some, and you think that you are the only one. But darling, don't you know love is not a game to some.
I think it came out
Man.
really well.
Yeah.
It did.
Funny story about that. The actual talking about trusting your bandmates and being able to be vulnerable. I've known James for quite a long time. We've been good friends in and out of the recording studio. Like we hang out, play Smash. Like we go out around the town together and stuff. Like, I mean, we practically had our kids back to back. You know, like we're really tight. So it was kind of fun and interesting though that when we recorded those harmonies together. It was like we put, I don't remember whatever mic it was, but your really nice vocal mic, I think it's gold plated. We had that in the middle with like a pop filter, and like we were like, I don't know, like 6 inches away from like touching face to face. Like we were just staring at each other, and we were both like singing into the mic at the same time, like harmonizing. So it was just kind of a cool thing though. But I mean,
Did we do that? I don't
I'm pretty sure we did.
Oh wow, okay, we recorded
don't
at the same
remember that?
time. Well, I think we did that for Time Is Now. Did we do it for this one too?
Well, maybe it's the wrong song, but I just remember one of those times I came over. It was just you and me. We were gonna try to knock out vocal parts, and we were gonna I think sing them individually, and we both got to the point where we were like, okay, this is a little just too challenging. Let's just put the mic in the middle of the room, and like we'll both get as close as we can to like keep that airiness. And we just like knocked out our parts at the same time. And I think listening to each other at the same time was actually really good for getting those harmonies tight, because if you did it on your take and it was a little bit off, and then the next person is listening to your vocals that are off, we were able to just like tune like on the fly, like in the moment.
Right.
It's just a funny story to me. Like in my mind, I just remember doing that.
No, that's cool. No, that's yeah.
Yeah. For my harmonies, I remember I kind of have difficulty with harmonies, and
It's not
I don't know
easy.
why.
It's not
It's just
easy.
kind of, yeah, it's not an easy thing to do. Something I had really done before. And I remember we had the piano hooked up, and I would actually play the piano notes, and it wasn't recording or anything, but there was a feed going into my headphones, and I would actually play my harmony notes and sing along with that.
Right.
And,
Yeah.
that helped a whole lot. It was just kind of one of those little cheats in the studio that helped a whole lot.
Hey, whatever you got to do, man, to get the take, you know.
Yeah.
Whatever you got to do.
Exactly. At the end of the day, and really, I mean,
it's not cheating. You know.
No, not at all.
yeah, I mean,
It's not. I mean, I genuinely believe that it's not.
yeah, you
Fight
make it
me,
work.
like, I mean, it's a studio
like-
for a reason. I mean,
Yeah, and I mean, like James said, like none of us are trained vocally. You know, even though
right.
we do vocals and other things or whatever. We're just.
But
we're
that's
just
not our
always trying
strong
to make
suit.
it work.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah,
And you're right, James. It was the time is now because that's all the oohs and ahs that were like really airy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we did something this one.
It's not a game to solve.
And that's how we'll close it out. All right, so let's move on to the next song then. Let's do Caleb's song.
Yeah.
This song was a demo that Caleb came with us to, and we had plans to record it as like a full band, or it was just like an idea of recording, and we didn't really get around to it, but it was just such a good song that we decided to add it to the track listing. And I think it kind of helped round out the songs too, because there's one song that's like that doesn't feature Caleb vocally at all, but then this one features just him. So I kind of feel like it also adds to sort of the symmetry of the track listing as well, you know. So let's go ahead and just play this one real quick.
Just because we should doesn't mean we would. It's just not fair to live this world without you there. And now it's late at night, and there's no one inside. Am I blind, or have I just lost my mind? Ooh, ooh, na 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 na. To fuss and fight, I'd give up every right to hear your voice, to hear that warm, pleasant noise. To be a thoughtful man, you helped me understand that this life is not a God-given right. Ooh, ooh, na 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 na. Na na na. I can't thank you enough for all the good that was just said and done through my whole life.
And that was Just Because We Should.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
So-
really nice.
appreciate it.
It's like a reprieve from everything that happened before. It's just like a palate cleanser in a way, but like it kind of centers you again. It just kind of pulls the focus back for a minute. It's really nice.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. So I guess I'll talk a little bit about the story behind that one. So at least for how it landed on the record, I think we were just kind of looking for ways to fill out the rest of the track listing because at least Memories and second track, um, they were kind of poppy, and we were looking for ways to add a little more diversity to it rather than it just being this one kind of note pop record.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I think for a while we were all sending around like solo tracks that we had done with one another, and that was one I wrote I think last summer, the summer of 2019. My dad had just passed away, so that song was all, written about that, and the loss with that.
Yeah.
And so I sent it to the guys, and it was received well. And I think we were looking for, like James said, I think we were looking for ways to fill it out. But it was just kind of one of those things where, James had just had his kid, Luke had just had his kid, and I was finishing up my degree in engineering, and we just had no time to get together. And understandably so, there's bigger things than getting together for a recording session at the end of the day. And truthfully, I wasn't expecting it to end up on the record. I think I had one chance to kind of to work on. I think we were working on some other stuff. I think we were working on either harmonies for the second track or something for Time Is Now. And then I think at the end of the session, and Luke, you weren't there, but it was just me and James. And I was like, let's record this real quick. I kind of, because the guys had said that they had liked it, and let's just record a quick demo, see what happens with it. And that became the ultimate recording. I think we did 3 or 4 takes, with me just singing and playing acoustic guitar, and that's what ended up on the record, one of those 3 or 4 takes. So it's really, production-wise, not much. It's just, almost like a live performance, really.
Sorry,
So,
I forgot
yeah.
to post this to Twitter.
But
No, I do want to talk about this song. Yeah, like Caleb sent it to us, and then we did this demo here, which basically ended up just being the actual studio version of the song. And I remember we recorded it and didn't really have a lot of time to do anything with it. And then it's coming to release time, and I thought back to the song, and I was just like, man, like I started finding myself like singing it a lot more in my head and like thinking about it often.
Right.
And it was just, I could just tell it was just like a very pure song. And kind of like what Luke was saying is that it kind of stripped back a little bit of all the poppiness and the glitziness and, vocal harmonies that we had for the previous few songs in the record, this really was a nice palette cleanser, and it worked really well with sort of staggering the pacing of the album. But I think also more importantly for me was like I could just tell that I knew the song meant a lot to Caleb, and I never met Caleb's dad, but I just thought this would be like a really great way of honoring him and just like Caleb and his father's relationship, you know. So might as well just like put it out there and just like, you know, let's just put it on a record, you know. Like it was still part of like our sessions, you know. It's still part of the Thusly umbrella, so like why not, you know. I think it's just gonna be a really nice way to round out the track listing. So just really appreciated him bringing that song to us, and you know, it's a very honest and vulnerable, emotional song. So I just think it really helps round out the track listing, like we were talking about, you know. So anyway, good work on that one, Caleb.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Yeah,
really awesome.
So let's go ahead and I guess just jump to the last song. We can do Time Is Now.
This beast.
Yeah, this one is we wanted to have a song that wasn't like 3 minutes and 30 seconds or something like that. We wanted to have something that was a little bit crazier. Geez, I don't even know which of these to open up.
I'm gonna step out for a quick second.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna use the little boys' room as well. But let's play this tune. Where is it? Oh, here we go. Okay.
If your lover is miles away and you've got something else to say, then tell them so and let them know the time is now. If you've got a friend in a bind and they seem to feel left behind, reach out your hand and understand the time is now. If you feel like you're losing touch with someone who can mean so much, then don't waste time and pay the mind. The time is now. If your world is standing so still and you feel like you're losing will, then make a change and rearrange. The time is now.
Man, I love a good fade out.
Such a good song. Like,
Yeah, man.
I love listening to that one, you know, whether or not I took part, making it. It's just such a good song.
Oh, shit. Sorry, I thought I paused it. How embarrassing. Yeah, no, I really, I liked that the song came together, and I think I want to start talking about this song by playing, I think, a demo one of y'all sent me. Maybe it was Luke, of us going over. This is like so this is just like a jam. Yeah, so like I think Caleb was on guitar, Luke was on drums, and I was playing my Juno and just like going absolutely mental with the arpeggiator function. So like, oh wait, Luke is about to do something nasty. groove. So we started doing that, and then I think we eventually got to Luke. You sent me like kind of like the succinct part of it, like where we ended up. Man, where is it? Time is now band, right? Yeah, so this is just like the section. Yeah, okay, you sent me this one. In the midst of all that jamming, like we eventually stumbled upon like this part here, which we were like, okay, there's something here. Luke had that groove, and I like found those chords, and then you end up playing just like that melody out of nowhere. And I think that's when it was just like, okay, this is cool. This is really cool. I think it's like right here. Anyway, yeah, so like the song just kind of like came out of like a middle of just like a 12-minute jam. And then we, I think, started like refining the melody a little bit better. So I was playing the keys, Caleb was on guitar, and I think Luke was playing piano here. And we were just trying to like really nail down what that melody was.
Yeah. That arpeggio.
So we started kind of like nailing down the melody.
Yeah. That arpeggio that what I was saying was that arpeggio something that I'm playing around with for a while, about a good month or two. I actually have another like personal demo where I say, I'm doing that same exact key, same exact everything. But, yeah, I definitely like how it ended up being used at the end of the day.
Yeah. And then,
but that little main melody was totally on the moment, on the spot.
Yeah, and that's just what tied everything together. Like.
Yeah, I was listening to a lot of Khruangbin at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I want to do something a little, more pentatonic, more, kind of weird timings. I don't know. I was trying to rip them off, I guess you could say.
Hey, that's what great artists do, man. They
Steal from the greats.
Yeah.
I'm not embarrassed.
Borrow. Yeah.
You know?
That's where they got their inspiration from.
I'm sure. Else. Yeah. But yeah, I think as soon as like you played that, I kind of put the song together in my head, and I was like, I knew this has to be like a sandwich. Like we have like the beginning with our arpeggiator, build up into this middle section, have that, and then we finish back with the arpeggiator. And I knew it was gonna be this kind of like bookend kind of idea. And I kind of like went crazy on this song. I think we recorded a couple demos together, but then I eventually just like went like overdub city on this song, and it kind of got a little out of control. Let's take a look at like how many actual like tracks are on this song, because it's kind of bonkers. Which doesn't necessarily make it a good song. Like sometimes people like to talk like the point. And I'm not trying to throw too much shade, but they're like points like a Jacob Collier track, or he does some of these where he'll like break down his songs and he'll be like, oh yeah, there's like 200 tracks on this, and it's like, okay, that's cool, but it's like that doesn't necessarily. He has a weird voice, man. He has such a weird voice. Yeah.
Yeah. He's a strange fella.
But yeah, there's 45 different tracks on here, and some of them don't have anything in them. Like these are like vocal ideas that just didn't end up making the cut. But yeah, it just turned into like a overdub city. But like I think they ended up mashing well and were pretty well executed as well.
Yeah.
The
I would
drums.
say this is like
Yeah,
the
go ahead.
only song on the record that we really tracked. Like we had a lot of demos, and I remember there were a few tracks where the energy just wasn't there with the drums. I remember that was a conversation we had about, just especially on that latter half of the song when we really just wanted to kind of bring it, and really end on a high note.
Yeah.
I remember that was a big conversation.
I think this is one of the only tracks that we like, as James was saying, Overdub City, like we kind of did a lot of different pieces at a lot of different times, and I think maybe like we played to a click track to this one, and it was kind of just like, I think we just recorded the drums, but you guys played along or something maybe,
Yeah.
Oh,
and then it
Real
was
quick.
just kind of like, go ahead.
yeah, sorry. We got to shout out Tyvon, who plays
Yeah,
saxophone.
exactly.
in this.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
Yeah. That's so stupid. Yeah, no. Tyvon came in and killed this track, and he recorded to like
Oh my
this like really
God, yeah.
bum ass version of the song too. Like it was like some like demo that like sounded like it was garbage, and he came in and recorded this like crazy great saxophone line or solo.
Tyvon Pena.
Yeah, he did.
He killed it. He so killed it. I think
Yeah.
we did a bunch of takes where we were like giving him, but I think we did 4 or 5 takes specifically.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the first 4 we were like giving him kind of like specific notes on what to do in every part. And then on the last take, correct me if I'm wrong, James, but we were just like, just go wild, just do what you want to do, except for though we want you to match with the guitar melody. That's the only thing.
Right.
And I think my word specifically was like, just Kenny G it, man, which I would never say with much pride in any other setting than this song in particular.
Yeah, he really nailed that the vibe we were going for with this, which was kind of this vulnerable soft rock psychedelic trip, like
Yeah.
and yeah, he made it work, man. The lot of really cool stuff in this song.
Mm-hmm.
The drums, actually I used some samples to kind of beef up the sound. So there's like this snare sample that hits every time one of your snare hits, so they kind of blend together a little bit.
Totally didn't know that. That's awesome.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
using a gate to separate, and then triggering that gate with a MIDI sample.
Right. So it kind of thickened it up a little bit, and then there's also does that for the kick as well. I'm pretty sure.
Oh.
Wait, it's not triggering. Oh, it might not have the sample in here. Huh? I don't think it has the sample. I moved this song file from one computer to another, so it's triggering an empty sample here. But yeah, there actually is. There's a drum sample for that as well.
Sample is offline.
Yeah, exactly. But the kicks is like super boomy in the song, but it like works somehow. I don't know how. And then the bass, actually is actually supposed to be. There's this preamp VST that I have that is actually not on this computer, so it's not going to play. It's actually supposed to be a lot beefier, but it is what it is. But actually, it's kind of weird because the bass is like the last thing we kind of recorded on this, because when we wrote the
Yeah.
song, it was drums, synth, and guitar. And I remember like the bass kind of like being like what do we do for the bass?
Mhm.
Yeah, you were trying to get your friend Brandon to play bass on this for a
Yeah,
long
we
time, but
wanted-
it just didn't work.
Right. Yeah. Brandon's always like super busy, so we weren't able to make that happen. So I ended up just tracking the bass, and it came out well. And then the guitar, of course, which I think we used my classic 30. It looks like we used the short 50, the 57, and then also the Sennheiser. No, the 41. What is that? I don't know. Maybe that was the I think it's the 141. I think that was the vocal mic we were using. Yeah, that's what that was. And then there's the space guitar, which is this guitar, like the big strummy guitar that happens at the end of the song, which I think adds a lot. I think there's some missing
Yeah.
plugins here as well, so it doesn't actually sound as good as it should. There's supposed to be like a shit ton more delay and reverb, but whatever.
I remember I played the. I didn't use a pick for this part because I wanted to be kind of muted on the attack. I used my thumb to strum the guitar. Very conscious decision.
We were thinking. This is what happens
Thinky,
when you
thinky.
think.
I will say,
Yeah.
I think James, if I'm not mistaken, you told me it was somewhat of what someone would consider like a uh-oh, but it actually sounded really awesome. Was that towards that later half, like when that strumming comes in on the sax, there was like a phasing issue, but it ended up sounding like this really beefed up chorus for like 4 bars. And I feel like even though someone might say like, oh, that's kind of like a mistake, it like works and it really pushes and propels like the tone of the sax forward, and like it just really moves the song forward.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's
It-
this.
It's like
Yep.
Yeah. So it kind of sounds like it's like a chorus saxophone, but yeah,
Mhm.
it ended up being just like an out of phase. Like when I was lining these up for some reason, I think like you see like everything else lines up, but for some reason this one part didn't line up correctly, and it was just gonna be too much of a pain in the ass to go and figure out why these were out of phase. You can see like the waveforms are like not matching up here. But ended up like just kind of sounding super trippy and cool. So we're just like, you know what? We're just gonna leave that in there.
Yeah, I love it. I remember I asked
Yes.
you about it, and you were like, "Yeah, it ended up just being a little out of phase." And I was like, "Oh, word!" I was like, "It's so sick, though."
Yeah, that's one of my favorite moments in the piece.
Yeah.
It's just that mistake. I think because it is, I know it's a mistake, in a recording sense, but it just works so well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then we got to use the Juno on this because we kind of had to because we wrote it with the Juno, you know. So it's just playing these chords with like this like crazy LFO, like the filter.
Cut off, right?
I think it's doing the cutoff.
Cut off, yeah, for sure.
Which I love these like tremoloed synths, like that just gets me going, especially if it's like a little out of time, because it's not in time with the song, but it just adds like a lot of like character to it. And then eventually I just started like going crazy with like the filter. I love doing this stuff too, like just live tweaking. It was easy because I just went back and forth between 2 chords, and I was able to just kind of like tweak the LFO and the filter, so it just like sped up and went slower. Just kind of like hidden in the mix at the end of the song. Like, wait, no, that's not it.
I remember.
Kind of hear it in the back there, just kind of spinning around. Just adding to like the psychedelicness of the song, you know.
I remember I showed this EP album to my dad, a few weeks back, and when we got to the end of this song, he asked me at the end of the song. He was like, "So what was making that like noise in there?" And I was like, "That was a synthesizer." And he was like, "That was a keyboard." I'm like, "Yeah, like you put a LFO." Or, I started talking lingo he didn't understand, but I was just like, "Yeah, that was a synthesizer." He was like, "Oh, okay, that's pretty cool." He was like, "I just
Yeah.
didn't know what that sound was. I never heard that before," which is
Yeah.
cool. I mean, he has, but he just didn't know what he was hearing.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
people I've shown this to as well. My brother, who's kind of a metalhead, I showed him to this song, and at first he's, "Oh, this is good," and then we get to that end part, and he's like, "Too much synth," but he's very.
I like it.
I love it,
Too
and I
much
wouldn't trade it for nothing. But so screw what he thinks. But that's just kind of how he is.
Yeah. There's a little bit.
Haters gonna hate, man.
Yeah.
There's a little
I
bit
wasn't
of.
trying to. Yeah.
So I
I'm
actually,
trying to
the one thing I wanted to mention with this song is that the reason that it kind of ended up how it ended up with the piano and the saxophone is because you brought up that Sun Kill Moon song, Caleb.
Yeah.
Benji or Ben's my friend. That's right. And
Yeah, Ben's my friend. Yeah.
and it ends, and the song kind of ends with like kind of the same idea. And I don't know the song very, very well. And I don't know where the saxophone and piano comes in, but
It's right after this part.
yeah, here we are. Yeah, so we basically just kind of yoinked that idea.
Yeah, and it was just kind of lucky that I knew Tyvon, who happened to be an amazing saxophone player.
Right.
But yeah, I think it was just kind of the mix of the piano and the and the Sun Kill Moon song specifically is classical guitar, piano, and saxophone all kind of, and the piano is kind of having this chord background. But I think in our track, it's more the guitar is doing the background, whereas the piano and the keys and the sax are really kind of leading it. And
Right. Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely distinctive from the Sun Kill Moon song. It's one of those things where you kind of have an inspiration or try to kind of rip off another song, and then it kind of becomes its own thing along the way.
Yeah. There's a little bit of that piano, which I like rolled off like a whole bunch of. There's like no lows in this basically at all, just to give everything else room. But like it carries over really well. You can
Yeah.
hear what you need to hear. Like I like listening to the drums, the bass, and the space guitar. It's just a real nice groove.
To answer your question in the chat, it's 4 songs on the EP.
Yeah, we just haven't released. We haven't released this one or.
That's Connor in the chat. That's Rolski's band name.
Yeah. What's up, Connor?
Shout out.
Go for another question, guys.
Tambourine. Music artists have y'all been listening to while writing and recording this music? One of them was Sun Kill Moon, I guess. That
Yeah,
definitely
for sure.
influenced this.
I wouldn't say there was really
Caleb was
one.
really into
Yeah,
Krong
Krong Band. Yeah, and then there was I wouldn't say there was one that we need to be like this artist, except for other very melodic, specific melodic phrases. But I know we talked about like, oh, we want it to be kind of a yacht rock kind of like thing, like Mac DeMarco or Crumb, but I never would say, and then correct me if I'm wrong, James, but I never would say that there was like one that we were like, "Ah, this is what we got to be like."
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't think so either. We kind of just picked and chose from what was needed at the time. It was like, oh, let's do something that sounds like this or like this, you know, like for Memories, it was definitely like a conscious decision of like one of the guitar parts to kind of sound Mac DeMarco-ish, you know. And this song, you know, Sun Kill Moon came up, and then with Love Is Not a Game, I don't really know what that kind of came up. Maybe like a James Taylor or Steely Dan kind of idea going on there, with some of the chords that were used in that song. But yeah, it just kind of all of our collective experiences just kind of being thrown into a pot and just boiled and simmered and served. You know.
Which is brew.
Yeah, I love Hoops actually. Hoops
Oh, no,
is
I haven't.
super cool. Yeah, they went on like a bit of a hiatus. I think they just released a new record, maybe last year or this year. But yeah, I need to listen to them. They're super cool.
One thing to talk about with this song is kind of talking about the structure, because with definitely Memories and Love Is Not a Game, there was that ABC sort of structure.
Yeah.
This one, at least on my end, I think we talked about having that structure more defined by dynamics more than changing the chords. I don't think we really have a chord change other than when the acoustics come in, but like, you know, the chords at the beginning of the song are the same as the chords at the, well, no, that's a lie. There is a shift, but I think there's only like, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah,
but-
there's basically just two different ideas going on. One of them is just like that F sharp major to F minor idea, like this just like arpeggiator thing going back and forth between, there's just two chords here, and then eventually like the A section starts, or I have an A section instrumental, and this is where like it's a bit more chords in this idea here. But then then it ends at the end of the song with the going back to that original vamp at the beginning of the song. So yeah, again, it's kind of the sandwich where you start with the A section, B section, back to the A section, and like that's it. You know, I think we wanted to streamline that arrangement idea. Yeah.
But I think listening to that song, you couldn't be able to tell because of the dynamics change, and
Yeah,
I think it's just one of those subtle songwriting techniques. Maybe not subtle, but just one of those things where you don't necessarily have to write a new, you know, chord progression or anything to signify a change in the song.
Yeah.
I think that's one thing we really pulled off well, and you know, through a mixture of using different instrumentations, different dynamics, different just kind of feels with the drums. I think
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Man.
a lot of subtle stuff.
I mean,
yeah.
that's like electronic music at its core
Oh
is
yeah, for sure.
one huge global idea for as long as the track is, as long as the DJ wants to spin it, and it's just mixing in and out different textures that are available, but it's all like the same idea. It's not, you know, not necessarily like verse, chorus, bridge. I mean, it depends on what type of electronic music you're listening to, but that's just honestly has become something as a drummer and just as my own journey through music that I personally really, really love now is like what's going on texturally, like what's here, what's gone away, like what's coming back at the end and the outro, like what can we double up, what can we get rid of, like just thinking about texture like a color palette rather than always needing a new full section or like a new
Right.
4 chords to get a new section.
Right. Yeah, I think listening to electronic music would benefit a lot of people. aspiring songwriters, because it really teaches you the importance of arrangement and
Absolutely.
and just being able to take basically, kind of like Luke's saying, is like a single idea, and how to break it down, build it up, and just all the different kinds of ways. And it just shows like how much mileage you can get out of a single idea. And a lot of people kind of look down upon or write off electronic music or anything like that. But really, it's there's so much more to it. You have to appreciate subtlety. You know, if you don't really appreciate subtlety, I don't really think you'll get as much as you can out of electronic music or, you know, dance music or anything like that. So anyway, yeah, that's kind of a ramble tangent on that.
Yeah.
But I was just gonna show off a couple of little things. This like melody doubling here that we had for the guitar, kind of beef that up a little bit,
Yeah.
and also this little melody doubling idea to go along with the guitar to kind of double up the main melody of
Luke, did you
the
play
song.
the xylophone on that one? Or was that a
No,
synth?
it's a Nord. Yeah, I was just using the Nord,
Oh.
using like the vibes preset.
So then you have the
Yeah.
xylophone.
Yeah, I didn't end up using that just because I don't think it sounded very good.
Yeah.
But it just kind of like adds some texture to the guitar so it doesn't sound as like naked, you know? I think the last thing I personally want to talk about is the vocals as well for this song.
For sure.
I think the background vocals came out really well.
Which I had nothing to do with.
Yeah, you were in Florida at the time, I think.
Yeah, I just was out of town and couldn't record.
Yeah. So Luke and I put these
This is
together.
when it happened.
Yeah.
Well, I don't even think it was here actually. I think it was later on. And then we do ahs here. I love switching vowels.
Yeah.
It just makes so much of a difference. Oh yeah, that's right. We pushed at the end. You know,
Mm-hmm.
that was really cool.
Yeah.
And then I
Oh,
think
man.
this is what we were talking
Can you
about.
bounce that down and just send that to me so I can listen to it before I go to bed every night?
I love.
I might need to sample that into like my next electronic track.
I can do
Yeah.
that for you, for sure.
Play the. I'm sure you're gonna get to it, but like I'm really anxious for you to get to the vocals at the end of the song, which they're kind of low in the track, but it's just a very subtle thing.
Yeah.
But for a vocal, I feel like it's so smart. You don't see that a lot with vocals. I feel like people don't. Vocals always need to be at the front of the mix, but this is a case of the opposite.
Yeah, I think this is the part you were talking about, Luke, where you and I we did it together.
Okay.
It's just that looping over and over again.
Yeah,
But yeah, that was like all contrary motion.
that's so. I've never heard that by itself, so that's so nice. We need to send these to somebody, and like they need to do a remix of them or something like that.
That's Luke's job.
That'd be
that's
kind
Luke's
of
job.
cool.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah.
Remix.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know why we needed to add that, but I think it added a lot to the end of the song. But anyway, yeah, that's that song, and I think this one was definitely a challenge because there's just a lot of stuff going on, and we had multiple different takes of it, you know. But I think eventually it came out working really well because it's just it's kind of an obtuse song, and but it's like a journey, and it just has a lot of things that I like about deep cuts of an album. You know, it's not like one of the singles. It has a lot of character and texture, and it rewards you for like a full listen. You know, like it's not like a listen where you can hit a chorus or a verse, and that's all you really need to take away from the song. It's more of it's a rewarding experience. And it maybe sounds like I'm kind of gassing myself up a little too much, but I am proud of the song because I do think that every single stage of it, there's something different for the listener to latch on to, and I think that's very important for a song is to make sure you're always rewarding the listener for listening. You know, you're building upon a theme, you're adding a texture, you're reinforcing something from the beginning of the song. You know, the more breadcrumbs you give to a listener, or even just anyone engaging in art, for them to be able to follow a trail and for them to piece together their own narrative or their own listening experience, reading experience, whatever it is. I think the more the listener user benefits from the song, I think the more that the piece speaks to them, and the more that they're going to enjoy your work. And again, it maybe sounds like I'm talking way too much about my own shit and that I think it's the shit, but I really do like this song, and you know, we put a lot of work into making it a rewarding experience. So I hope when people listen to it, when it eventually is released, well, it's kind of already released on Bandcamp, but
we haven't like put that out, but yeah, it's on Bandcamp.
Yeah,
Full album.
But yeah, the more that you give people, and let them, the more stuff that they can dig into, I think the more they're gonna appreciate the piece.
Yeah, that's to build off of that. For this whole record, I feel like, you know, with other projects, songwriting responsibilities kind of go in different directions. You know, definitely with my previous band, Olskis, Connor, who's in the chat, you know, I did the guitar and vocal stuff. He did the bass, and you know, my drummer Thomas did the drums. But this one, I feel like for Thusly, I feel like all three of us kind of had equal say on every part, and it was the most collaborative by far of any project that I've ever been a part of, and it was really refreshing in a lot of ways, and very enlightening in a lot of ways. And I think that the music itself speaks for that. But yeah, it's the process itself really brought out some good stuff, I believe.
Yeah. Well, I think that's pretty much all I've got to say. I really do enjoy talking about this kind of stuff, but it's getting a little late for me as a dad.
Yeah, I hear that.
I'm an hour behind, so
that's true.
Caleb, quick question. I believe this was directed at you. It says, can you explain the album art? Is there a way you can sum that up real fast?
Yeah, real quickly. So the art is a collection. It's basically a collage of old photos my dad took. So after he passed away, I took a bunch of his old, just kind of going through his stuff. I found a bunch of old photos that were kind of faded, and I learned he had shown me some of them when he was still alive. But I got my friend Harbir Kapani, who's a pretty good photographer, to scan them for me, and really I didn't do anything to the scans. They just there's that negative space in it, but there's a certain beauty to it, I think, and I just took that and made that the album art. We had a lot of ideas. There was a lot of discussion about what kind of vibe we wanted with the album art, and we wanted to take some photos, but then again, it was one of those things where we just kind of got too busy in our personal lives to where we were able to accomplish that. And luckily, Harbier was able to step in. I had an idea with those old photos, and he was able to step in and bring it to fruition. So, yeah, that's all I can really say about that.
Nice. Well, guys, I think this has been a very rewarding and fun experience. This is, like I was mentioning before, stuff that I love to listen to, and I love when artists do. So I wanted to take initiative and kind of put this out there, and then hoping that other, we've had a couple different people in the chat who've been in different bands, and if any of them wants to take the initiative and do something similar, I would love to listen to the creative process and writing, mixing, recording process of other people's tracks too. So this is just a fun way of, kind of sharing our songs and creating content for other people to enjoy. And so for anyone who was in the chat or posted or anything, I really appreciate y'all listening and asking questions and just being here. So thanks.
Yeah, thank y'all so much.
Yeah. Any last words, fellas?
Go listen to the music. Enjoy it. Hope y'all have a good time with it as much as we did making it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and go. If all three of us have personal projects, James has Slow Mouse Swift.
Yeah.
Prom Date. Luke has EID, which is some pretty tight electronic music that I work out too often. And then
thank you.
yeah, I got Olskis, which is a 3-piece that I was a part of for a good portion, and then Late Mass. So go listen to those if y'all like what you listened to with Thusly.
I forgot. I also have my solo project, Glamour Profession. I forgot about Glamour Profession.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Which Luke was playing a little bit with me on too, but it ended up just turning into a solo thing.
Yeah. I am gonna release a solo project soon, so
yeah. Caleb shared
on that right now.
Caleb shared some of his songs that he's been working on with me, and they're really good. I really, really enjoy them.
Yeah, they are. They're awesome.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, JT, please do one of these for Rio Rose. I would love to see some of your workflows and processes, because I know you're like the engineering god.
Like, he could do it for a lot of he recorded our last Olskis album.
Yeah,
for sure. That dude's a wealth of knowledge.
Yeah, I would love to watch one of those, JT. So
yeah, I'll be there. Let me know.
All right, thanks Connor for tuning in. Appreciate it, bro, and for everyone else.
Miss you, Connor. Love you, dude.
All right, y'all. I'm peacing out. I'm probably gonna end the stream. So thanks again.
Later, everyone. Thank y'all.
Thanks for listening.